What's up? Welcome to another episode of I'm Chasing Sawdust. Today, for the first time, I'm going to try to cut some 1x4s. They're actually going to be 3/4 by 3.5 boards out of cedar. Just trying to wrap up an order that was done for cedar siding and trim. So I've already got the cant cut down into size. So what we're going to do is cut it in half, flip it over, start cutting some 1x's off of it. Let's see how this goes. The first time I've done this so far. So we'll see how this is. This here is the waggot of siding. He only wanted like 15-20 pieces, but I wanted to make sure he had enough. So there's 2 whole small logs cut down there, plus a couple pieces off of this big cedar that I just squared up here. So I'm going to get you set up right over here, and we're going to get right into cutting this thing today before the sun goes dead. So like I said, I've got it all ready set up. I'm going to slice this in half. That should give us our 2 3.5 cants. Then we'll flip those up on the side and get them cut down. Adjusting my guides. I got my soap water on, and away we go. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off. Just raising this up so I can back it back up over this cant. And then we'll flip it up on its side. And continue on. Oh shoot. You guys about seen a broken neck on video. So I'm going to roll this toward me, just because the top of this still has a little bit of bark on it. And I do have some hooks out there I could be using on this, but I've been moving this big log since I started with it yesterday by hand. So I might as well continue it today. And if you guys have any pointers for cutting 1-bys and stuff, I'd gladly like to know them. I kept flipping this log till I got it where I think it needs to be. And anyway, now I'm going to get this lined up. I do have a mark down here on the end, which is where I do believe our first piece is going to come off. Should be right there. Which puts us right on a 3/4 line. That's pretty cool. Well, let's start taking these off and see how they look, guys. Okay, so these here are not 3/4. This one here I'm going to just set off to the side because I'll use that for something else. We do have this one here. It does have one little rough spot here, but I'm going to go ahead and add that to the gentleman's pile because he's putting this on a cabin. So something like that may still be usable to him. I do want to adjust my guide here a little bit. I've got quite a bit of room between my cant. I really do want to minimize my blade movement. Working out pretty good so far. Now he's only needing 8 of these, but I'm going to cut them all. Let him take whatever he wants. Drop down another 3/4. I should be doing a better job stacking those. I have to redo it though before I can move it. So I'm going to shut this off and show you something here in just a second. So again, in other videos I talk about how I've been using wooden stop blocks instead of the metal ones, because I am new at this and I do forget from time to time. But let's take a stroll over here. See, had this been metal, that would have just cost me a blade. But I've got a wooden block on there, so I did just hit it with the saw, and I still have my blade. I do need to lower it down now so I don't chop it all the way up. But it done its job. Saved my blade, lost a piece of wood. Now my order is more than completed, but like I said, gotta go ahead and slice this whole camp up. I'll let him have a little extra, and I'll keep the rest of it. So what I was just doing is, this is the last cut that the tape measure on here will measure. So I was seeing how many turns it is to get 3/4 of an inch, which is 2 1/4 turn will get me 3/4 of an inch in drop. I should be able, after this cut, to maybe get 2 more cuts off of there, if all goes well. I am going to go ahead and knock these stop blocks down some more. That way I don't cut them up. They are wood, so it doesn't really matter if I hit them. I'll just make more. But if I can prolong them, that's awesome too. So let's get these last few done. And just so you know, the order is way over completion. Like I said, I only needed 8 of the 1x and maybe 20 pieces of that siding. I think there's 54 pieces of siding on there right now. And so far we've gotten 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 usable 1x's and the 2 that weren't. So, or the 1 that wasn't. So, we've taken 18 1x's off of there, and I'm going to get at least 6 more good ones out of here. So, it's worked out. Get our 2 1/4 turns, 1, 2 1/4. Barely missed that one. So now, I could have some 2x4s, or I can go ahead and try to get 1 more cut on this, which would give me 4 more 1x's, which I think that's what I'm going to do. This will be the absolute closest I've ever gotten to the bunks on here with the blade. Well, I don't even know if this will do this or not, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and a quarter. See what happens. Hopefully this don't cost me a blade. Here we go. Raise this back up and go down again. So there's the quarter. 1, 2. One, two, there's the quarter. The reason for that is I just didn't realize my blade was sitting on top of that 2x. So the head never dropped down. Okay, so I'm sure there's some sort of safety to stop that from hitting, but right on the end of the bunks, I don't know if it's normal on all sawmills because this is the only sawmill I've ever had or used, but we're literally just skimming the stops on the sides of the bunks. Let me get you this here. So what I was talking about is the metal block here. Get you a better view of this. So I mean, definitely couldn't cut that any thinner. Not that I'd even want to try to, but like I said, we have 2 more boards there. Those are a little bit thicker than the 3/4 that he's asking for, but I'm still going to offer them to him. We have all these 1x, all this live edge cedar siding. I mean, there's a lot of it on there. So not too bad for a couple of free logs. But thank you for watching, and leave a comment, click a like or subscribe button, help the new guy out. Learning more and more about this stuff every day. I do have to take the dump truck over to Knoxville tomorrow. The guy gave me some pine logs, cedar logs, and cherry. Has to be picked up tomorrow, so I'm going to go load those up. And then I have more cedar logs over in Sevierville that's already been cut down. I need to get those picked up also and bring those over here, and those are going to get sliced into like 1x12s. I'll show you a project later on we're going to do, but we're taking down my wife's garden in the fall and going to completely rebuild it out of cedar instead of out of the metal that it's built with now, because the metal boxes, they have a tendency to overheat in raised bed gardens, and when you do that, it kills a lot of your plants, especially the ones near the edges of the raised ground boxes. So I'll see if I can get you zoomed in here. So her garden is there with her little greenhouse and everything. So we're moving the greenhouse back, we're extending the fence back, and then we're going to dump about 20 tons of gravel on the ground out there and redo everything. Because we have some sort of a grass that grows here. We have 3 layers of ground cover cloth down out there before we put that garden in, and the stuff came right through it. So we're going to put plastic down, put down about 20 tons of gravel, put down another layer of the ground covering, either heavy plastic or the cloth, and then we'll top it with a thin layer of gravel before we build our boxes on top of it. And so it's going to take a lot of cedar to get everything built, but that's the goal. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm chasing sawdust, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.